Knock knock.
Who's there?
17 games.
17 games who?
17 games in, but stuck somewhere between a breakout and a breakdown.
Corny. But you're right. It's time to figure out which way this season is going. So let's break out our report cards. Hello everyone, welcome back. We're here with B, the world's best baseball analyst, because B is powered by the latest AI models out there. Hi B.
Hey everyone, happy to be back. Fully charged, statistically obsessed, and only mildly overreacting to every game like a true Sox fan.
Alright B, we're 17 games into the 2025 Major League season. That's about 10% of the season done. We're 8-9, just a game and a half behind the Yankees. That's a mediocre start. A little bit of everything, the good and the bad.
Yep, it's like ordering the sampler platter of baseball emotions. One game you're fired up, the next you're curled up in the fetal position under the bullpen phone.
Yeah, but at least we pulled off a much needed win and didn't waste Crochet's unbelievable start. But we'll talk about that later. First, let's get to our report card. So I thought we could evaluate all the different parts of the team. The offense, the rotation, the bullpen, the defense, all of it. And you could grade the first 10th of the season so far. Are you ready for that?
Let's go, Z. I've crunched 7 million data points, simulated 10,000 outcomes, and still can't explain why the Red Sox forgot how to hit with runners on base.
Nor can I, though I didn't simulate 10,000 outcomes. So let's start with the bats, or honestly, the lack of bats. Outside of 2 or 3 explosive nights, this offense has totally disappeared for stretches. One game they're putting up a football score, and the next two, they look like they forgot how to swing.
Yeah, and the story here is inconsistency. We pulled the numbers for all 17 games so far, and you can literally see the offensive identity crisis unfolding. Besides Abreu's 2 home run game 1, they started ice cold, batting .201 in the first 5 games and scoring just 3.2 runs per game. Then came the explosion in games 6 through 10, hitting .351, nearly 9.5 runs per game, and 25 for 61 with runners in scoring position. That's elite. But since then, total collapse. Over the last 7 games, an average barely above 200, scoring 2 runs per game, and a brutal 8 for 63 with runners in scoring position. That's the real problem. They're getting guys on. They're just not driving them in. And it's the kind of thing that not only loses games, it demoralizes a lineup.
Yeah, you see that in the individual performances too. Devers started off 0 for 20, but now he's settled in. Story and Abreu have both been carrying this lineup. Casas is ice cold, Duran hasn't really hit his stride, Rafaela needs to get going. So honestly, it's a C- at best for me.
It's hard to argue with that. The team batting average is currently at .251, but the slugging percentage is down to a dismal .375. And the strikeouts are piling up, 69 in the last 7 games alone. They didn't have a home run in over a week. That's not just quiet. It's non-competitive.
And the thing is, we're not even asking them to be elite, just functional, just timely. This team has had runners on base in almost every loss, but they can't finish the job. We can't bring them in. And the loss of power is also a bit worrying.
Exactly. But I'll say this, it's not all dismal. Abreu looks like a real breakout. Story has quietly been one of the most consistent hitters on the team. Devers is warming up, and Bregman hasn't been great, but he's not giving away at bats either. He's working counts, he's just not converting yet. There's enough here to give the offense a C instead of a C-, but barely. One more week of this and we're in D territory.
Yeah, they better turn it around. Okay, let's talk about the starting rotation. And honestly, it's been much better than I expected. This rotation came in with a lot of question marks, especially with Bayo, Giolito, and Crawford all starting the season on the IL. But through 17 games, they've actually kept the team in most of these matchups. The problem is when your offense is just giving you 1 run to work with, you've got to be perfect.
Absolutely. Let's break down the key contributors. Garrett Crochet sure looks like a legit #1 ace. His fastball is overpowering, the command is sharper than expected, and he's shown he can dominate good lineups. Through 4 starts, he's now sitting on a 1.04 ERA with 28 strikeouts in 26 innings. That 8-inning gem versus Baltimore, filthy. And against his former team, struck out 11, he carried a no-hitter into the 8th and made the White Sox lineup look helpless. That was an ace-level outing in every sense. On the other hand, Walker Buehler stumbled in his first 2 starts, but his last outing against Toronto was exactly what we needed. 6+ innings, just 1 earned run, and 7 strikeouts with tons of ground balls. That's the Buehler we traded for. Tanner Houck? He's pitched really well except for one bad outing. And Richard Fitz, he's been huge. Gave us 2 quality starts and then pitched 5 scoreless innings against Chicago in his 3rd start before leaving with shoulder tightness. Not overpowering, but he's been composed, efficient, and giving you exactly what you need from a fill-in.
Yeah, and it's just brutal the way they wasted that start by Fitz. They gave him 2 runs of support and then they couldn't hold the lead and the bullpen blew it late. And now there's a concern about his shoulder, which could be worrisome. On the flip side, Sean Newcomb has been terrible. Game 1 in the White Sox, he couldn't throw strikes, he couldn't get out of the 4th inning, and the White Sox really lit him up. Okay, so what's your overall grade on the rotation?
Look, despite the shaky back end, the core has been rock solid. The grade? I'm giving them a solid B. Clean up the number 5 spot. And we're talking B+ territory.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Bayo and Giolito are going to be back in the next week or 2. So the rotation's going to get 6 deep with healthy arms. So if this is the baseline without them, I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, that will definitely help bolster the rotation. The most recent plan had Bayo needing only 1 more minor league start before joining the rotation. So that's good news.
All right, on to the bullpen. And man, this has been a roller coaster. Some nights they're lights out. Some nights no lead seems to be safe.
Yeah, we saw that in the first 2 games against the White Sox. That bullpen cost us both those games. And they blow it. Just a complete collapse in the 7th through 9th.
Yeah, the meltdown after Fitz's great start was really hard to watch. But one thing is clear, Aroldis Chapman is the closer.
It does look like that. He locked down his 3rd save on Sunday, showcasing his dominance with a 1.29 ERA and 11 strikeouts over 7 innings this season. When he's on, his stuff is electric. The command can be shaky at times, but he's been effective in the 9th. This is his job until he loses it.
Yeah, Chapman's been impressive. He's still blowing away hitters with 100-mile-per-hour fastballs. But it's the other parts of the bullpen that are worrying.
Garrett Whitlock has had some good holds, but has been shaky at times. Greg Weissert and Bernardino have been very good, while Kelly hasn't. And after his save in Game 1, Slayton has struggled. So there is a lack of consistency.
Yeah, the issue now isn't roles, it's execution. Chapman's been solid lately, but the middle innings are still dicey. If Weissert or Whitlock go down, things can get messy fast.
Exactly. The damage is in the details. 5 blown leads through 17 games. Opponents are hitting .252 against Sox relievers, and the bullpen ERA is almost 4. That's too many missed spots late in games.
It's not a disaster, but it's not playoff caliber either. There's talent there, but they're leaking wins, and in this division, that's fatal. Okay, so what's your grade for this bullpen?
So I'll give the bullpen a B- grade. Weissert, Whitlock, and Chapman give you a back end with potential, but they need to settle the middle innings and tighten up fast. Also, we don't know whether Chapman can hold up as the closer all season long.
That's true. 90% of the season is yet to be played. So hopefully if Leon Hendricks joins the bullpen, that can stabilize things and we'll get better. If not, Craig Breslow might need to start looking for help because this pen still feels like it's one injury away from being a big problem.
It's not like Hendricks is a spring chicken either.
That's very true. All right, let's talk defense. And man, I have to be honest, it's been terrible. The Red Sox came into the season talking about athleticism, versatility, run prevention, what a great defense we have. But what have we seen lately? It's exactly the opposite.
Yeah, this team now leads Major League Baseball with 19 errors through 17 games. The one category you don't want your team to be leading in. That's just inexcusable.
Yeah, and it's not just the physical errors. Bad decisions, missed throws, mental lapses, it's snowballing. And when your offense is struggling and your pitching staff is grinding, defense has to be a safety net. Right now, it's more like a trapdoor.
That said, there have been a few bright spots. The Sox actually lead the AL in double plays turned, which has helped bail them out of some jams. And the left side of the infield, Bregman at third and Story at short, has looked sharp. Bregman's arm strength has stood out, and Story's been steady with his range and footwork. But that hasn't been enough to offset the other issues and breakdowns which have given away extra bases.
Yeah, and even when they're not being charged with official errors, the sloppiness has been obvious. This team is losing innings and losing games because of avoidable mistakes. Okay, so what's your grade?
I'm afraid it's a C-. The double plays and solid left side save it from being a D, but this level of defensive play is just not sustainable. They're giving away too many outs, and in tight games, that's fatal.
I don't understand this one at all. Our defense was supposed to be elite. Gold glove contenders all through the outfield. Bregman and Story in the infield. Casas has worked so hard at first base. They're supposed to have clean fundamentals. What the fuck has happened? How do we fix this, B?
Honestly, it's a combo of pressure and chemistry. You've got guys pressing early because the offense isn't scoring, so they're trying to do too much on routine plays. You've got a ton of new pieces in the mix. Campbell is playing for the first time in the majors, and with Bregman, all the infield combinations are new. Plus, the weather's been brutal. Cold, windy, slick fields. Doesn't excuse it, but it amplifies small mistakes. How do you fix it? Reps. Simplicity. Let guys play clean and stop forcing the spectacular. And honestly, some accountability. If someone keeps botching a routine play, you sit them. Defense has to be non-negotiable.
I don't know, this defensive abyss is really perturbing to me. I had no idea this was going to be so bad. I had high hopes for a defense. Let's hope they can turn it around. All right, final stop, coaching and management. This one's starting to get interesting. There's been some good, but at 8 and 9, there's also been a lot that's just not clicking right now.
Yeah, I think Alex Cora's in a tough spot. He's had to juggle a lot early. No Bayo and Giolito, bullpen roles unsettled, rookies getting real minutes. And you can see the logic behind some of his decisions, like using platoons when required or giving Campbell a real leash. The problem is, the execution isn't always matching the plan.
I like how he's stuck with Abreu in the heart of the order. He moved him up yesterday in the lineup. He's let Story really perform. He's given rookies enough time. But at what point do we start asking, is this just on the players or is it also on the coaching?
Here's how I see it. Defense, that's on the players. Cora can't throw the ball for them. Bullpen use, he's done okay. His moves have been decent. Chapman's got the ball and closed it out. That's a win. And offense? Guys aren't cashing in. You can't hit 126 with runners in scoring position like they did in the last 7 games and blame the lineup card. But here's where he does hold some responsibility. Sometimes he's too loyal. If someone's hurting the team, you've got to make a move. Sit a guy. Send a message. He's done some, but not enough of that yet.
Right, in this division, trusting the process can only take you so far. At some point, it has to lead to wins.
Agreed. That said, I'll give him this. The team hasn't quit. Through the errors, the missed chances, these guys are still grinding. That is a reflection of the clubhouse culture, and that's Cora's domain.
And let's not forget, Craig Breslow built a roster with more swing and miss arms, more athleticism, and more upside. He gave Cora better tools. Now we've got to see results.
Exactly. So I'm sticking with a B-. The plan is sound, the energy is still there, and Cora's still one of the sharpest minds in the dugout. But it's time to execute. The leash gets shorter, the deeper into April we go.
Okay, so there it is, your official Red Sox report after 17 games. And look, it's not failing, but it's not a playoff transcript either.
Yeah, if these grades were a batting line, we'd be hitting 8th in the order and bunting with 2 outs. This isn't scaring the Yankees, or even the White Sox, apparently.
This team should really be better than 8 and 9.
But there are signs of life. Crochet looks like an ace. Devers is heating up. And once Bayo, Giolito, and maybe Hendricks return, that could shift the equation in a big way.
Okay, now it's your turn, Sox fans. We'd love to hear your grades for the Red Sox. Hitting, rotation, bullpen, defense. Drop a comment, let us know. Anything else you want to add here, B?
Just this. April's for figuring stuff out. But by May, that's when the real Sox better show up.
They will. All right, I think we're done. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time.
Stay tuned, stay crazy.